thank you everyone so much for taking the time out of your day to join our webinar. And I know your time is important, so I really do appreciate you doing this and being here. As I mentioned a little earlier when we were just kind of getting things started, the Q&A feature is available for you to use to type in any questions that you might have. Everyone is muted at this time, but feel free to type your questions in as we go along. I'll take pauses throughout the presentation to try and answer those questions as we go, and then we'll have a little bit of extra time at the end to answer any additional questions that may come up. My name is Tim Coates. I am the Senior Solutions Engineer for Fortress Power. Been with Fortress Power for about 2 years now, a little over 2 years now, but I've been in the industry since 2005 and seen a lot of things happen, a lot of changes occur. My background is that I did start out as a technician and installer, kind of worked my way through the ranks, and that's the perspective I try to take when I talk about a lot of these things. That said, we'll go ahead and get things moving. I'd like to kick things off with just kind of a little bit of background about who Fortress Power is, who we are, and what we offer, in case there's anybody here who's new to Fortress Power and would like to know a little bit about where we're coming from. So we've been in this business for over 10 years. We do anything and everything from off-grid to homes, multi-megawatt C&I projects, and we're forward-thinking in that we're looking, to offer solutions with income tax eligibility, fiat compliance, and even domestic content. So strong background and a strong look to the future is what you're going to get when you work with Fortress Power. Within our decade of growth here, you can see our company was founded in 2016. We launched some products in 2017 and 2019. And then in 2021, we partnered with a private equity investment group. And that really allowed us to expand our business extensively. 2022, we acquired an energy management software and called Keystone. I'm going to talk quite a bit about our Keystone energy management system in this webinar, because while the hardware and inverters and batteries, things that we offer, are extremely important, we think that what really ties it all together, what gives and provides the most value, is our energy management system. In 2023, our C&I business just really started to kick off. We did also enhance our residential offering. So while this is going to be a C&I focused webinar, always remember that we do have residential product offerings as well. I think, like a lot of you folks out there, 2025 and especially here 2026 has seen some incredibly accelerated growth in the C&I sector. For the obvious reasons, policy reasons, things of that nature. A lot of the folks I'm talking to these days are saying, last year I did 25% commercial, 75% resi, and this year that has been completely flipped around. So you're looking at 75% commercial and 25% resi. So this webinar is going to focus on our C&I products with a specific focus on our eSpire Nano, which is a great gateway system into the C&I sector. But that said, I just really also want to make sure I cover all of our bases here on who we are. So we offer systems for whatever your customers need. So if you need a whole home backup system, an off-grid system, if you're focused on energy optimization, you want some really involved energy management that allows you to participate in VPP programs, or allows you to really take advantage of the different rate structures and things that are out there, and ultimately save your customers the most amount of money. We also have that, and that is, like I said, the core of that is our EMS, our energy management system. So let's go ahead and dive deep into our commercial and industrial solutions. Three primary components for our C&I solution. It includes our inverter, obviously, and battery. You can see the analogies down here. Inverters like the engine or the power, and the batteries like a gas tank. And so a lot of times folks kind of getting into this for the first time, they need these analogies. They use them to help understand and help to explain to their potential customers, why do I need X amount of kW for an inverter and X amount of kWh for a battery? So we found that these engine and gas tank analogies make a lot of sense for folks. And then last but certainly not least, and actually probably the most important part of this whole thing, is the controls or the energy management system. We'll sometimes call that the brains of the system, the software, but really what it does is it can optimize energy flow and manage that energy flow so that customers are getting the best return on their investment, and they're getting a system that does what they expect and need it to do. A big differentiator for Fortress Power is that in addition to offering, our assessment tools, which is basically a financial analysis tool, in addition to offering our energy management system, which now integrates with that financial analysis tool, says, hey, this is your Keystone financial analysis. This is your Keystone controller that's going to do all the things that we said it needs to do from a financial standpoint. And then we're going to control the hardware or all the components with our system. So if you think about that a little bit, right, you might have one financial analysis tool that's going to say, hey, we think if the system can do X, Y, and Z, it will save this much money or produce this much energy. And then you say, okay, well, now I'm going to use this financial analysis tool and tell some energy management system that I want it to do the things that I modeled in this tool. And then hopefully that energy management system tells the hardware what to do. At Fortress Power, all of this is seamlessly integrated. It's all from one source. So it's all been tested. It's tried, it's true. So our financial analysis tool is directly connected to our Keystone energy management system, so that the modeling works quite well. And then our hardware is lab tested and fully vetted to work with our EMS. So that allows you to have one call to make if there's ever an issue, and there's not going to be any finger pointing. We're going to look at this whole system as a complete thing, from the financial analysis to the controls to the hardware. And we're going to help make sure that these systems do what you and your customers expect them to do. But we're really not going to stop there, right? These are not just products that we're offering. At Fortress Power, we understand, that service and support is also a key component to partnering with folks that are investing in these really big projects. You've got a lot of stake in the game here, and we want you to know that we're going to share that stake hand in hand with you should you decide to partner with us. So we can kind of take a look at what that cycle might look like, right? It begins with solution engineering. When you get a project that you're interested in working on, we've got a CNI checklist, which I'll send you a link to here, or show you a QR code that you can link yourself to here shortly. And that's a great starting point, because that CNI checklist goes to our engineering team, where we're going to work with you to help specify products and systems that are going to work for the project that you're trying to work on. I think it's clear to most of us here that CNI projects are very unique. Each one of them is unique and has certain nuances. Of course, there's always some stuff that's going to be we're hoping to standardize certain things, but naturally there's going to be this or that is a question mark. And that's where our solutions engineering right there at the top in the front end comes in. From there, we can use our Keystone Designer to do some financial modeling. As I mentioned, that Keystone Designer is a part of our Keystone Energy Management System. So when we're modeling that those financials, we're doing so based on controls and reporting that we know already exist within our existing energy management system. Maybe some of those models and analysis include VPP, virtual power plant, and demand response capabilities. We're going to see some graphs of how our system works on that. And then, it goes to the next level where we will come on site and help commission this system to get it running, to get it optimized, to make sure that it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, so that when we get to the next step in the process, which is your fleet management and your O&M software, your team knows how to commission a system. They understand how to read and interpret the EMS, the software, the graphics and the diagnostics that are showing up through that EMS software. And you'll be able to manage an entire fleet, and including providing O&M. We can give you O&M alerts, notifications. It's time to do X, Y, and Z. You've hit the 6-month mark, you've hit the 3-year mark, and so on and so forth. And then last, and I think certainly not least, is that if you come to us and we look to create this partnership with our products, we have multiple PPA, lease and financing, loan and financing partners. Before I dive too much further into the technical side of things, I'd like to just kind of give a snapshot of what we've been doing and what we're up to, just to give everyone an idea of what Fortress Power has going on, and to let you know that we're here, we're in the game, we're serious about it, and we're not going anywhere. 2009 are sites for our 2026 pipeline. These are commercial sites, and this is in California alone. You can see one of our biggest folks that we partner with for projects are schools, right? So we got schools, we've got government, ops centers, that type of thing, public use, public sector type of stuff, municipal buildings, city halls, libraries, multifamily housing, and airports and police departments, you name it. You can see the list here. It goes on and on. And then just to highlight a few of our specific folks that we've partnered with on projects, this is going to include Toyota. We've got a big project on a factory that makes luggage. You may have heard of Toomey, the high-end luggage manufacturer. So they've got a factory in Georgia. We've got a system out there with them. We've worked with the U.S. Border Patrol. And the one that I always like to highlight here, simply because it illustrates, the complexity of regulatory compliance and things of that nature, is San Diego Unified School District. So folks, if you are able to work with San Diego Unified School District, or if you have worked with somebody similar to that in the past, you'll know that there are quite a few hoops to jump through in terms of the regulatory compliance. And that's, again, where we feel like we really do shine, is we're going to go hand in hand with you. We are stakeholders in this as much as you are. And we're going to make sure that these projects go through from conception to finish, to when you've got a fully established fleet of products out there that you're trying to manage. All right, I'd like to talk more about our Keystone Energy Management System and our microgrid controller. Again, it's called the brains behind the system. But really, what does it do? It takes information, or provides information, to multiple sources of power and loads, and it optimizes those sources and loads so that your customers will see the best possible return on their investment. So this includes peak shaving. We're going to ensure that demand charges are kept below a certain level. We've got time of use optimization. We can establish real-time monitoring and alerts. And again, this multi-site asset control includes anything from our battery storage system, somebody else's battery storage system, a PV system, AC coupled PV, EV charging, the grid, the loads, a generator. This energy management system really is, I think, actually more so even than, say, the battery or the inverter, is the core of what makes our system work so well. Nothing tells a story like an actual site or an actual case study. So let's just take a moment here to briefly look at this case study that we have. So it's a quick service restaurant in Oceanside, California. It's a 30 kW eSpire Mini with 81 kilowatt hours of storage, and the service voltage is 208 volts. Our key components include our battery energy storage system, our energy management system, and a solar PV system. The focus of this system, the goal for this system is demand charge reduction. So we're going to make sure that they don't hit these peaks or spikes in their demand. They've also got some S-chip incentives. And then there's VPP participation, which I think is also a really interesting way to use our energy management system and our hardware. And I'll have some graphs that'll illustrate beautifully how this all works. And I think that's kind of where I get excited, is looking at those graphs. All-in-one hardware solution, measurable ROI, all the good stuff that we kind of already spoke about. Looking at 2.5 years of payback on this system and a project timeline of 4 months from the delivery of the purchase order. So we can deploy quickly. We can help analyze those ROIs, and a lot of times, especially and specifically in situations where there's high demand charges and there's a VPP program, you can look at ROIs in as little as 2.5 years, maybe less even in certain circumstances. So it starts to look really attractive. This starts to look really interesting when we take a peek at it from this perspective. Now, I mentioned I'd show some graphs illustrating kind of how this system works and what it's doing. If this is a little too much for some folks, bear with me. I get a little techie and a little more interested in this kind of stuff. So I hope it's not too over the top, but we'll take a look at it together here. All right, so you can kind of follow along with the numbers on the bottom of the slide here, but I'll describe what's happening as well. So here it is, it's the evening time, and this pinkish color indicates the utility consumption. But you'll notice that the battery is discharging when the loads exceed a certain threshold. So you got these spikes or these peaks here, and we're going to shave those peaks to ensure that this consumption stays nice and flat. Then as the sun starts to come up, you can see your solar is ramping up. The utility consumption, that pinkish color, definitely drops down, and in fact, you're going to see where excess power is now being sold to the grid. And you might even get kind of a peek of what's happening here in this dark gray color, where our battery is actually charging. So battery gets charged back up from the day. Now we're going to go on to our next image here in the center. PV is covering our loads. We've got, feedback to the grid. Everything's looking good. We're still covering our peaks here. And then all of a sudden at 7 o'clock at night, the utility company initiates a demand response. And we are going to dump that battery into the utility because they're asking for it. So you can see here, this color represents the battery discharging. And then suddenly that demand response ends. Now back here, we're in the evening time again. You can see we're on our third graphic here in this slide, and you can see where we're using a bit of grid power to cover some loads, but we're also again relying on that battery for peak shaving. And then sun comes up again, so PV is covering loads. It's recharging our battery. But if you'll notice here in section 1, we had a power outage, because you can see where that pink color goes away. So suddenly now we're not just looking at peak shaving. We're not just looking at VPP or demand response. We're also looking at resiliency. And you can see all of this happening, and this is a snapshot of our EMS system. So battery got charged. Suddenly the power went, batteries got fully charged rather. And now we're at a spot where the PV is covering all the loads. Power gets restored. Excess PV starts getting sold back to the grid. Sun goes down. We're back to our normal operations where our system is covering those peak loads. So all of this happens in this way because of our energy management system. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of things happening that require a great deal of granular control. So we're looking at 15-minute intervals. We're looking at being able to program any time of use scenario that you might think of, any peak shaving scenario that you might think of. We're looking at interacting directly with the utility for those demand responses. Again, I do apologize a bit because I get a little bit excited about this side of things, and I know it might be a little in depth, but I hope this helps to illustrate the capabilities of our energy management system. So that said, let's jump into some hardware. So we know what it's going to do. We know how it saves money. What the heck is it? What are these parts and pieces now? Like, let's put them together and let's build a project, shall we? Our recent product line that we've launched is our eSpire Nano. Is built for small to mid-sized commercial sites. It's very easy to install. It's quick, easy to scale. We can offer the high performance without all this infrastructure complexity, as said here in the slide. And of course, we're looking to always maximize ROI, commercial projects. That is the #1 goal. And we have a system of some kind that will allow you to do that. If you work with us, then we are going to help you pick that system out so that you do your customers and you see that fast ROI. The eSpire Nano comes in 2 different types. So I'm actually going to start with our Pro package, and then I'll talk about our standard package. The Pro package is definitely something folks are going to think about if they're in a location that has complex rate structures, multiple time of use, and multiple various different demand charges. Maybe you've got seasonal demand charges or seasonal time of use charges, that type of thing. You'll want the ability to control this system at a very, very detailed level to offer you the best ROI. So we've got advanced system modeling, the financial calcs, complex rate structures, and the one I didn't mention just a second ago is the VPP participation. Not every project needs that. We understand that, and we appreciate that, and we still want folks to be able to feel comfortable getting into the C&I sector, and maybe they just want something that's very, has a very basic time of use and a very basic peak demand profile. And that's where you can go with our standard package. It's fast, it's quick, it's a nice way for somebody who's a bit more comfortable with the residential side of things, but they're looking to venture into C&I. It's a nice segue into that. And again, commissions quickly. It's the same commissioning app as what you would use with our residential products. Same interface with our Guardian dongle, and very, very quick and easy to install. Also, some things I'd like to make sure I mention here include the system specs. So these are 208 or 480 volt configurations. They can be AC, DC, or AC and DC coupled. We've got 30 kW and 60 kW inverters for our Nano, and we've got 40 kilowatt hour and 60 kilowatt hour battery cabinets to go with these as well. Again, I'll start, I think, with the Pro EMS. I think it's better to lead with that, honestly, because as we start thinking about these projects, I want folks to be thinking about what we're really capable of. What are our strengths as Fortress Power, which will then become your strengths as well. And that involves our energy management system. So the energy management, the Pro EMS for Nano would include the Keystone controller, advanced circuit level monitoring, your advanced optimization, all those great things I sort of ranted about in the earlier slide with the graph. Local data backup, that's very nice. So if you ever need to understand what's happening with that system, if it went offline, you have local data backup. Tier 2 support, that means higher level support. We will provide 20 hours of technical support. You have our full attention, our full dedication to you during that 20 hours when we're getting the system up and running, when we're programming everything for you or with you, and when we're verifying that everything is working correctly. And then honestly, if you're investing in this Pro EMS or this Nano Pro package, we're going to have our highest level of team our highest level team members supporting you with it. And we've already mentioned VPP, integration, utility compliance reporting, and all that kind of good stuff. But as I said a little earlier, you might not need all of that. And that's great because, while the Pro EMS does have a ton of value, it does come with a price. So sometimes your project really only requires the standard package. So standard package, you'll get the Guardian dongle, you'll get access to our cloud dashboard. You will still, of course, have fleet management and alert notifications. You've got some very standard peak shaving, time of use, and solar maximization options there. So there's not, a whole bunch of variety there, but it does have something that we can offer you. We will provide support naturally. And, you can see in the slide here, this is the type of product that's really built and made for your standard, projects, quick, easy CNI deployments that don't have complex rate structures, that you're not too worried about, all of that kind of good stuff. That said, I like the idea of future proofing. So where I'm at, while rate structures are not super duper complex at this moment, we see a trend where these rate structures are becoming more complex. And so food for thought is to consider the value of future proofing, and you can always actually add controls to a standard package later on down the line. Let's take a look at what the parts and pieces look like. So on the left-hand side, you can see our outdoor rated system. I want to not differentiate, but rather define something here and say that our 60 kilowatt hour and 40 kilowatt hour outdoor rated systems, those are basically cabinets that are 100% outdoor rated. The inverter can be mounted to the cabinet itself, but just because it's labeled as an outdoor rated cabinet does not mean it cannot be installed indoors. So if you look at the indoor only option here, it's kind of a server rack option where your batteries will slide into that server rack and you'll have the exposed wiring and what have you. But if you look at the features of our outdoor rated system, or cabinet rather, it includes HVAC, built-in fire, built-in UPS, which I think is a great feature. You can stick the inverter right on the side of it. And then, all of the other systems, the indoor and outdoor, offer the same sophisticated battery management, the top tier cells and all that kind of good stuff. We're looking at a 10-year to 8,000 cycle warranty and a 1C charge dis rate. Now, I see some questions that have come in, and I want to go ahead and address them. So is the Pro package the only option to be able to control it via Keystone? Or can you still control in the same way through the standard package? So the answer is that the Pro package they're both going to be part of Keystone, but the Pro package has the advanced EMS controls. So you will monitor both through Keystone, you will commission both through Keystone. But if you need the more advanced controls, then you need the Keystone Energy Management System. How many DC MPPT inputs on the 60 and 40 kW? I think we've got a spec sheet coming up here, and we'll address those in just a sec. Okay. I would be remiss if I also did not talk about the eSpire 290 FC. So this is kind of hot off the press. It's not brand new, but it's something that is relatively new. And our eSpire 290 FC stands for fiat compliant. Those of you who've been in this business for a little while are probably very, very thoughtful of foreign entity of concern or non-foreign entity of concern products, or another way of saying that might be fiat compliant. The point is that our eSpire 290 will be manufactured in a country that will allow it to qualify for the 30% ITC or income tax credit. So it's 290 kilowatt hours of storage per cabinet. Comes with 125 kW inverter, and then we can stack these accordingly and as needed for your project. Now, one thing to consider with this one, and I think this is pretty typical of most battery energy storage systems of this size, is that this is an AC coupled solution, whereas the Nano is an AC or DC and AC DC coupled system. Our eSpire 290 and all of our larger eSpire products, above the Nano, are liquid cooled. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we've built these systems to be liquid cooled. That offers, this thermal stability, more energy density. The battery is going to last longer and ultimately optimize performance. So we're looking at 25% more efficient heat transfer than just air cooling, and frankly, a much better product. Great question. Is the Nano fiat compliance on the roadmap? The answer to that question is absolutely yes. We're probably, so I'll jump back to the 290 here, because I think it's important to talk timelines, and appreciate the reminder. eSpire 290 is available to be purchased today and will be shipping in Q4 of this year. It's your fiat compliant product that you can deploy this year. The Nano has a projected timeline for Q4 of this year. We expect to be able to ship fiat compliant Nanos by the beginning of next year, Q1 of next year. Kind of a deeper look at our eSpire ESS. As I mentioned, it's liquid cooled. It has a control cabinet. There's three main parts here: the liquid cooled battery cabinet, and then our 125 kW 480 volt inverter. Modular design. We've used them in car dealerships, schools, the airports, EV charging stations, you name it. Multiple infrastructure or municipal infrastructure, pardon me. And this one will always and definitely be coupled with our EMS. Glance at what kind of like the overall flow of what a system might look like. The key features being our three-phase 125 kW inverter, liquid cooled, top tier batteries, integrated EMS, scalable all the way up to 650 kW and 4.6 megawatt hours of storage. And really, I think the things that stand out for me anyway, as I start to talk about these things and with folks and learn about them myself, even as we go along, is the scalability and the tried and true projects that we have out there, the things that we've deployed. We're constantly getting better and better at this. Our products are getting better. We're innovating and we're driving forward to ensure that we're offering you the products that you need. And I think this is demonstrated with our fiat compliance. So here's an example of eSpire Mini at a Honda dealership in Yonkers. You can also see an example in the center here of a bus charging depot in California. It's an eSpire 125 kW with 233 kilowatt hours of storage. And in Pennsylvania, we have an eSpire 8 with 820 kilowatt hours of storage, 700 kW array. And again, these systems are up and running. We can, if we ever get an opportunity to get together, happy to pull them up on our Keystone Energy Management System, show them to you in real time. If you ever wanted to make a trip out and visit one of these systems, we'd be happy to do that. Okay, I did mention that I would share a link to you for our customer checklist or our CNI checklist. So if you have a project that you're interested in, getting a budgetary quote on or a quote on, feel free to use your phone to scan this QR code, or you can find a link to our CNI checklist on our website. Click that link, fill it out to the best of your ability. We don't need all of the information on there if you don't have it readily available. If you can provide us with 15-minute interval data, on the usage, that's fantastic. If not, that's also okay. Don't let that create a roadblock for you, because that's where we like to step in, and we like to start asking questions and finding out more and more about your project, because the more we partner with you, the closer we get together on your projects and understanding them, and then figuring out the solution, and then taking it to the next step with financial analysis, and then so on and so forth, the better off everyone's going to be, and the happier we're all going to be, because these C&I projects are a bit complicated, and they do take some time and some partnership to make sure we get them right. And that is our goal, is to get it right. I want to thank everybody for, again, taking the time to join this webinar. And I do see some questions, and I see that there's a question here that I didn't answer yet. I thought I was going to be able to, I think this is a bit more of an overview presentation than a deep technical one. So how many DC MPPT inputs on the 60 and 40 kW Nano, I'm going to assume. So 40 has 3 MPPT inputs, and the 60 has 4, and each input can accept 2 strings. Now, remember, for your bigger projects, we can stack multiple inverters. And then we can also actually have additional inverters that are not necessarily associated specifically with storage. We've got Anthony on with us, and I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit, Anthony. I hope you don't get upset. But Gio's webinar that gets really deep into the technical side of things. Can we give a plug for that one?
Sure, absolutely. It's been a series. Gio gets very technical. So instead of taking up 2 or 3 hours of somebody's time to go through every nuance and every nook and cranny of the Nano, he splits them up in between a couple of different webinars. So we do have a sort of a part 2 webinar coming up on Tuesday, which will go more in depth of more of the technical aspects. But if you check out our YouTube channel, which is just youtube.com/fortresspower, we post all of our webinar recordings up there with closed captions, so you can kind of follow along with everything that's going on. So feel free to check out our YouTube page. This way you can take these webinars and watch them on your time, rewind if you need to. And then, of course, our engineers like Tim and Gio and our sales staff are always available for any questions.
Awesome. And you can find a link to Gio's webinar that's coming up. You can find that on our website, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Nice. So yeah. So if you're really looking for a deep dive into the technical side of the eSpire Nano, I would absolutely encourage you to sign up for Gio's webinar. That said, feel free to send us any questions you have. You can use that C&I checklist, as I mentioned earlier, as a great starting point. And we look forward to partnering with you on these projects. As I feel like I've probably said this too many times, but I do want to emphasize that partnership is kind of the way we like to approach C&I. We're not just looking to hand over a product to you and say, here you go, good luck. We want to make sure you're as successful as you possibly can be, because your success is our success. So that said, I really appreciate everybody attending, and not seeing too many other questions come in. Let's see. Oh, okay. Are the battery cells the same across across all the models? So right at this time, what I'm going to tell you is that we do have a relationship with CATL, or Cattle, and they provide the cells for our C&I projects. But given sort of the nature of policies and the way things are going, I'm just going to kind of stop there and say, there's a constant evolution of products happening in response to policy changes. Right. Listen, everyone, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. And I hope to see you soon on the next webinar. Take care.